When I was a kid, my grandmother had 3 rules for staying at her house. Never open the door after dark, even if you hear me calling. Never look under the bed in the spare room, and if you wake up and the hallway light is on, pretend you're still asleep. I broke all 3 the summer I turned 10. This is what I saw. My grandmother lived alone in an old farmhouse at the end of a dirt road, the kind of place where the nearest neighbor was a 20-minute drive, and the dark at night was total. No streetlights, no glow on the horizon, just stars and the black shapes of trees. I loved going there as a kid. I loved it right up until that summer. The rules were always just part of staying at Grandma's. The way some houses have a rule about shoes off at the door. I never questioned them. Kids don't. You just absorb the strangeness of the adults around you and call it normal. But the summer I turned 10, I started to wonder why. The first rule I broke was the hallway one. I woke up in the middle of the night, thirsty the way kids get, and the hallway light outside my room was on, a thin gold line under the door, and I remembered the rule. If the hallway light is on, pretend you're still asleep. So I lay there, and I listened. Footsteps, slow ones, coming down the hall toward my room, and my grandmother's voice, soft and sweet, saying my name. "Come on out, honey. I made you something to eat." Except my grandmother was a heavy woman with a bad hip, and these footsteps were light, quick, and they didn't quite touch the floor right. There was a sound between each step, a little drag, like something pretending it knew how walking worked. I kept my eyes shut. The doorknob turned. The door opened. I felt the hallway light fall warm across my face, and the voice right beside my bed now said, "I know you're awake." I did the only thing a terrified 10-year-old can do. I kept pretending. I breathed slow. I didn't move. And after the longest minute of my life, the thing by my bed made a small, disappointed sound, and the footsteps went back down the hall, and the light clicked off. In the morning, I asked my grandmother why she'd come to my room. She set down her coffee very carefully and asked me to tell her exactly what happened. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "That wasn't me, honey. I was asleep. That's why we have the rules." She finally told me the truth that morning, the way you tell a child something you've put off for too long. The house had come with the family for 4 generations. So had the thing that lived in it. It couldn't hurt you, she said, not directly, not as long as you followed the rules. The rules weren't superstition, they were a treaty. Never open the door after dark, because that's how it gets out. Never look under the spare room bed, because that's where it sleeps in the day, and it does not like to be seen sleeping. And never let it know you're awake at night, because the ones who answer it don't stay. Your great-uncle answered it, she said, 1962. We don't talk about it. I wish I could tell you I listened, but I was 10 and I'd been told there was something under the spare room bed, and there is no force on earth that can keep a 10-year-old from looking. That afternoon, while Grandma napped, I went into the spare room. I got down on my hands and knees, and I lifted the edge of the dust ruffle. It wasn't a monster. That's what I could never make anyone understand afterward. Under the bed, in the dark, neatly tucked in like a child taking a nap, was me. My own face, my own pajamas, sleeping. And as I watched, frozen, the sleeping copy of me opened its eyes, looked right at me, smiled, and put one finger to its lips. Shh. I ran. I didn't tell Grandma what I saw. I was too scared. We left 2 days later, and I never stayed there again. Grandma passed when I was 19 and the house went to my father, who sold it without ever spending a night. I'm 34 now. I have a daughter of my own, and last week she came into the kitchen rubbing her eyes and asked me a question that stopped my heart. She asked why there was a little girl under her bed who looked exactly like her, and why the girl had told her not to tell. We don't have that house anymore. We live 3 states away. I don't think it was ever about the house. Lock your doors, sleep well if you can.